Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel Cairns. I'm the Head of Enrolments here at FourthRev, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you today to our Ask Me Anything style webinar regarding our Digital Marketing and Analytics Career Accelerator in partnership with the London School of Economics. Joining me today shortly will be Fiona and Jill, and I can't wait for you to engage with them regarding the program, and I've certainly got some questions for them. It is about you and what you would like to ask as well. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can. And good on you for choosing to attend as well. You're making a step to educate yourself around what could be a life-changing career choice, and obviously investment in your education, which is always a positive thing. I will give a brief overview of the program first, and then introduce our guests before going through a series of questions that you have and that I certainly have. And at the end of the webinar today, we certainly are most excited to be offering a very special offer for those in attendance as well. So, firstly, just a very quick synopsis of the program. It's unique in many ways, but what makes it unique is the fact that we partner with industry first to understand, in a modern context especially, what employers need with digital marketing, both with a lens for the now and certainly a lens toward the future. Coupling that then with the very best of academic underpinnings with the London School of Economics ensures that you receive not only the rigour that makes it so valuable, but the practical nature of the learning, coupled with the relevance that industry is seeking, ensures that the career outcomes that you're seeking are delivered throughout the program. It is 6 months online. There is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous delivery that I'll get to in a moment. But to give you an understanding of the structure of the program, it's made up firstly of 3 courses. And those courses don't have any exams. I hope most of you are pleased to hear. I certainly, it rings so true to me when I hear that there's no exams. We think there are more productive ways of assessing one's competence. So instead, you're empowered to build a portfolio of evidence throughout the program, which is much more beneficial to show an employer than saying you got 80 or 90% on your exam. But 3 courses and then 1 industry and employer-facing project at the end. Course 1, The Essence of Digital Marketing, runs for 6 weeks, and there's a week reflection following that. Course 2 is the Data-Driven Digital Marketing Strategies and Campaigns course, which is so important in industry today. And then course 3, Impactful Digital Marketing Leadership. Again, the core skills and competencies that employers seek, but woven within the learning outcomes also is not just the technical, and it is rigorous, the technical learning, but it's also the business application of those skills. And then furthermore is your personal growth, the soft skills that we embed within the program, and lastly, the employability aspect. So you can see that there's a quadrant of learning outcomes, and I'll touch on the employability aspect in a moment, but that combined is exactly what employers are seeking. You're supported in a number of ways. We foster a really strong sense of community for peer-to-peer support. Then there's facilitators that we'll certainly hear more about very, very shortly, that take you through that synchronous aspect per week, the session per week live. And then there's a success manager who'll be your cheerleader to support you in anything course related. And often, somewhat surprisingly, but often most pleasingly, learners in our Career Accelerator models are surprised by the addition of an executive style career coach. The career coaching aspect of the program is, again, rigorous, but it's really a cornerstone of what will set you apart and accelerate your career, hence the title. How the career coaching is structured is that you'll go through a week-long and rigorous goal-setting process during orientation, and then meet with your coach once a month for 50-minute sessions, one-on-one. And this is more than just updating your resume. This is diving deep into a toolbox of skills that you'll enable your success in not only your next role, but every role that you apply for in the future. It's diving into things like aligning values with opportunities and even organisations. It is positioning your new skills even during studies to attract recruitment or recruiter attention on platforms such as LinkedIn. And of all our career accelerators, 90% of learners that complete the career accelerator and the coaching program achieve their intended career outcome as well, which we celebrate internally and externally, and that's what it's all about for us. It's about 12 to 15 hours a week. Current learners in our first cohort are reporting. As I said, there is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous delivery, meaning there are live sessions, but then there's asynchronous, the majority, meaning that you can choose when and how study fits in with you rather than you fit in with university. So if you're to do a little bit each day and then reserve some time on the weekends, most people seem to be able to fit that in around full-time study or other life commitments such as family as well. At the end of the webinar, I'll touch more on application process, payment plans, and the special offer that we have. But we're here to answer your questions and certainly some questions that we have that we feel that you will benefit from knowing more about. So it gives me great pleasure. In a moment, I've got one more thing. Sorry, I'll just double check the run sheet. I've got one more thing that I did want to ask, and that was career aspirations. So we'll pop a question in there shortly about your career aspirations so we can tailor a lot of today's content specific to you. But stay to the end for a special offer, and it is now my pleasure, first and foremost, to welcome both Fiona and Jill to the discussion. Jill, Fiona, welcome and thank you. How are you, Jill, firstly?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, good, thank you.
Good to hear. And Fiona, welcome and thank you.
Well, thank you very much, DC. Daniel, apologies. Nickname DC.
No, everyone calls me DC, that's fine. I'm more than used to that and don't mind it at all, as long as people don't call me Dan, I think. I don't know why that is, but we all have our reasons, don't we? Fiona or Fee?
See, I'm often Fee, so go for Fee.
Thought so. Just a reminder to everyone, if you could pop your questions into the Q&A box as we go that are specific to what you would like to know, and comments in the chat function, and we'll put some links in the chat function shortly as well. My first question, though, Fee, why digital marketing? I guess what makes the skills taught on this program critical to the digital economy, and what excites you about this field in particular?
Yeah, thanks so much, DC. So yeah, great to meet you all. Really excited to be here. Just very quickly, I'm the product owner for this program. So yeah, I've been working very closely, of course, with the lovely product team here. So from our designers to our digital marketing subject matter experts, and of course, closely with the amazing academics like Jill at LSE while we've been in development. So yeah, I would say that the standout skills on this program critical for today's digital economy would be, number one, very much, as we know, we can't get away from data. So very much that critical skill of being able to leverage data to make informed, strategic digital marketing decisions. And of course, not only just making the decisions, but making sure that everything is tied back to your organization's or your business or your clients' overall business and marketing goals. I think as you may well already know, in marketing, it's so easy to fall into the trap of simply trying out the next exciting tool or app. But of course, what's more important is really ensuring that you know where your customer base is, where they're spending their time, and aligning your strategy and your tactics to their needs and behaviors, rather than just trying out the next exciting thing. Another really critical skill, I would say, is that, and DC has already touched on it, is that kind of holistic focus on leadership or the kind of business and soft skills. So as DC said, we don't just focus on those technical and hard skills, which are of course critical, but also those human and soft skills so necessary to future-proof your career. So even if you're just starting out in your marketing career, still having that grounding in how you could be a great leader in digital marketing will really prepare you for that leadership journey. I think that final part was what excites me about digital marketing. I think for me, it would be very much that it has this ability to create genuine human connection between brands, organizations, and consumers. It can really be, of course, you know, that there's a dark side to it, but it can also be really used to generate so much good. You can really use it to not only build connections to brands, but also build communities and rally people around causes. So that's I think.
That is, you've excited me enough to want to do the digital marketing program there for you. That's a great summation there. Jill, I'll ask you to introduce yourself as well first, but I certainly have a question that I'd love to pose to your good self as well.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, I'm Jill Nurse. I've worked for LSE since I left industry myself. I had about 20 years working in senior marketing positions, mostly in telecoms and media here in the UK. And then it got to a point in my life where I was trying to juggle work and family and all those things. And I had a light bulb moment and thought, I know what I want to do. I want to work with people working in industry and people who aspire to do this job that I'm doing. And so academia gave me a calling. That's when I joined LSE and spent a number of years working with some super bright people. And I think what I could bring to LSE and certainly bring to the education process there was my ability to really understand how theory works in practice. And so decrypting these concepts and theories and really explaining how they work in a day-to-day sort of contextual setting. For me, it was TV. So yeah, that was my calling. I've enjoyed my time at LSE, and I'm enjoying this move now over to be able to work not just with young people, undergraduates, master's students, but also to work with people working in industry who perhaps have this calling to change career, just like I did, and hopefully I can help support them with that new journey.
That's fantastic, Jill, and that experience is so valued in our collaboration and the ethos behind the Career Accelerator and the model that we have. But I guess my first question for your good self was, I guess, why did LSE want to collaborate with FourthRev on the design, the creation and delivery of the Career Accelerator?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question because, as you know, LSE are an international brand. We're a top higher education provider. But it almost seemed like a natural move to blend this exceptional thinking that we have at LSE in our research and education and blend that with the expertise of practitioners. And I suppose what that enables us to do was design this program and the materials that are really relevant for today's workplace. So that combination seems to have worked really, really well. And without doubt, you know, when I work with young people at LSE and I keep in touch with them over, you know, social media networks and see how their career is progressing, it certainly leads us to believe that there are a number of people out there that have perhaps not had that opportunity, or perhaps have got to a crossroads in their career where they want to then, you know, move into a different area, but they're not in a position to do, you know, a full-time master's, step away from their career or change completely. This really helps us to, you know, get that thinking to this group of people, help them close skill gaps, help them get these real sort of job-ready skills, combined with some of our thought leadership. So I hope that answers the question.
It certainly does. And it is most valued from a FourthRev perspective, but mostly from the student perspective, the learner perspective, because the outcomes reflect not only exactly what you just outlined and articulated then, but also that networking and engagement with industry as well. I'll ask the audience as well, just if you could pop in the chat, as some have done already, what your career aspirations are in digital marketing. And in a separate one, I'd love to know if you do care to share what your current role is. So if you're looking to change from a specific role or industry into a digital marketing role, or if you're currently in marketing and want to advance or accelerate your career. Question for Fee. Can you give us a quick overview of what the program covers and how practical is it? I touched on it briefly earlier, but a little bit more of in-depth insight into that, if you could.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as you mentioned, DC, that there, of course, we cover 4 courses. The whole program has 4 courses, each 6 weeks in length. And I would say it very much culminates in that fourth course, which is an actual live employer project where our learners have a chance to work with a real life employer, a real life business who give our learners a problem to solve. So I can even give you an example of one we're sort of playing with right now with a potential new employer project. They have a new offering, and they're hoping that our learners can help them figure out how to essentially expand this offering. They've been able to target their normal client base, but they're trying to broaden it, if that makes sense. So that's the kind of thing. This is a real life business problem. So that's at the end. That's how that course culminates. That program culminates in that fourth program. And but I would say, of course, those first three programs really ensure that learners have that grounding, so they're able to essentially hopefully practice and hone all the skills that learned in those first two courses. So by the end of those first two courses, the program aims to have given learners the skills to really create a data-driven digital marketing strategy. Again, that very much that focus on data, aligned to an organization's objectives, also to plan, create, and implement a digital marketing campaign that covers the entire digital marketing mix of channels and tactics, of which we know there are so many, aligned to specific target audiences, and again, of course, utilizing those data analysis techniques to be able to optimize that campaign. Because, of course, once you've started a campaign, you've got to learn from it, you've got to tweak it, you've got to change it. And then, as I said, as I already touched on, also that focus on not only those hard skills, but also how to be able to actually lead as a marketing manager or director of a marketing department. Something else that I'll add that makes it incredibly practical is, and as also you've already started to talk about, is each of the courses also include an assignment. So learners will also complete an assignment at the end of the first three courses, at the end of each course, but all of which have been designed not only to help learners apply and hone the skills of that specific course, but really to become a valuable piece to add to their portfolio of work. So something that you would actually use in a client or job opportunity. So to actually give an example of, this is the kind of strategy I've actually put together, or this is a campaign plan I put together. In the first two courses, these are on fictional scenarios that we have created, but these scenarios, these organizations have been based on real life companies. So it's still a really valuable piece to add to your portfolio, as well, of course, the live employer project at the end there. So that gives a bit of insight into hopefully how practical the program really is.
It does, very much so. And I'll expand just briefly on the employer project. So practically applying your skills in a realistic setting, in a real environment, with one of our industry partners, is highly beneficial in a number of ways for learners that we feel and we see in our career accelerators. Firstly, I think it's awesome to more deeply network with and work directly with your peers, some of which are located in different parts of the world. We have learners looking to change careers, looking to advance their careers, and from all different backgrounds, as we've seen some examples on in the chat already. But it's also an amazing way to apply your skills in a practical sense. It's brilliant to network in addition to your peers, but with leaders of industry also. And lastly, whether you're looking to advance or change careers, it is a much more powerful demonstration of your value to not only demonstrate your portfolio, but tell an inspiring story of how you've worked with industry on a real digital marketing project. And this was the challenge that you were presented with. These were the innovative solutions that you came up with, and this is the potential impact of that. That's a story to tell. And we tell stories in marketing all the time, but the most powerful thing you can do in an interview is have that memorable story to relay as well. And Jill, that I guess is a great segue into the next question I've got for yourself about further than just the industry project, or including how does the program bridge the gap between the academic rigor and industry application? Spacebar sometimes, yep. Bottom left or spacebar? I think spacebar works on here, doesn't it?
Sorry about that, guys. My mouse just stopped working, so I had to unplug it and plug it back in again. Yeah, I think I remember the question. Yeah, how do we bridge this gap between academic rigor and industry application? Well, back at LSE, there isn't really an enormous gap because our research academics are involved every day in things like knowledge transfer partnerships and researching and working with real firms. We bring guest speakers in, and that's something that I do on this program. I'm going to have an ex-student come in and talk to the students. So we always try and ensure that our teaching is really relevant and contemporary and sort of as up to date as possible, by making it very sort of research led as well. We also run live projects just like the one that we're doing here with this group. And I echo all the words that DC was saying in terms of really giving you the opportunity to learn, but in a really safe environment. This is what I tell my students, this is not you doing this with the risk of making a mistake and affecting your career. This is in a really safe space where you get to experiment with new ideas. You get to work with your peers who perhaps work in different sectors to you, have a different functional background to you, and you get to learn from them. So it really is that amazing experience. And I was just telling the guys earlier before I came on the call, I was in back-to-back meetings. I'm supervising dissertation students at the moment. And I'm saying, choose a dissertation that you're passionate about and that you want to work in that industry, because you will be able to talk to potential employers about what you learn, what was a real challenge, what you would do differently next time. And those are all the sorts of things that employers want to hear about. So we've got that kind of intersection between the academic rigor and the real practical experience that comes through that employer project. But so far, from what the time that we've spent delivering this program, I think the team involved really help with bridging that gap as well. We have facilitators who are currently working in industry, they're consulting, they're facing the sort of challenges and answering the sort of challenges that our learners will be facing and their organizations will be facing. So yeah, to me, it just seems this perfect blend between knowledge, expertise, a bit of industry experience, people that are working right now, and that really gives people those opportunities to upskill or maybe gain a promotion by supplementing their current experience with this knowledge, which is probably going to underpin their intuition. They probably have some great ideas for how digital marketing should work. But what this does is gives them the security and the confidence of having learned that sort of background underpinning knowledge that goes along with it.
That's fantastic. And that's why also LSE is so highly regarded by employers already as well. That's always evident. You touched on the facilitator, and I've got a question or a further question regarding that. What I thought I would do now, though, just quickly, I thought I'd just engage with the audience a little, because we've got some great comments and questions in there, and I'll come back to some other questions that I certainly have for you both as well. Charlene's motivation is wanting to specialise in areas such as data-driven decision-making, content marketing, SEO, and social media management. Charlene, brilliant. Thank you. That certainly aligns with exactly what this will provide. And it's great to see your data-driven approach. It's so critical, and that's certainly what industry are seeking as well. Also wanting to advance your existing career in digital marketing. Tatiana's current role as account manager, PR and marketing agency, would like to progress to head of marketing roles. Good on you, Tatiana. The leadership you've got and the transferable skills, I feel, will certainly be highlighted through the coaching process, but also the relevant learning to enable that. Gloria has mentioned you currently work as a program administrator for talent development within the film industry. I think digital marketing will help amplify the work I do, e.g. community building, social media management, film marketing strategy, but do not have prior experience just figuring things out. I think also people that often don't realise they have don't realise the extent of the transferable skills with the experience that you have is something that is really brought to the fore through the process of the coaching as well. So I'll get to some more in a moment, but that's fantastic. Thank you kindly for everyone listing their motivations there. And I'll get to a question or two from the audience. So what learnings from the previous Career Accelerator, like our data analytics course with LSE, were taken into account when creating this course? Fantastic question. And if you don't mind, I'll answer some of that, and Fee might be able to jump in with a little bit more, or Jill. But what we took from the success of the data analytics program, for those of you that aren't aware, that was our first ever Career Accelerator with anyone, but particularly with LSE, and it's been a resounding success every presentation thereafter. What it did prove very, very quickly is there is the need that this provides for that rapid advancement of one's career, or the ability to change careers with hyper-focused industry-relevant content, coupled with what we mentioned before with the quadrant of learning enabling career success outcomes. And we're so proud of what that program has achieved, but build on that for this program, obviously with a different set of content and discipline. But basically, we took all of the learnings from the data analytics program and have continued the model that is so successful in digital marketing, and always strive to continuously improve as well. So a great question there. Another question from the audience. What networking opportunities can be expected from the program, e.g. potential employers? Who would like to tackle that one? Or I'm certainly happy to as well.
I'm happy to kick off a little bit, and then hand back over to you, DC. So just really actually very quickly on your last question though, and actually of course a lovely thing about us also having a data analytics program is that actually have been like a couple of points in the content of our digital marketing program. We've actually been able to draw a little bit on the content that of course has a lot of cross-functional application, if that makes sense as well. So that's been another excellent learning from that. But on the networking opportunities, so there is also, so of course, on top of what actually, Jill, you mentioned, which I think is such a lovely way to think about it, is this community, your fellow learners are actually the start of your network. If you think about it, you're all at different stages of your career, but these are the start of your network. Imagine, 5 years, 10 years time, you're all going to be in wildly different, but probably much further places in your careers. And it's actually the start of your network is actually right there in that community and in that classroom with you. There is, of course, some opportunities afforded by the employer project, but of course that's just normally one or two companies, but that's a small start as well. And then, of course, there are your work with the career coaches. They will also guide you in how to become a good networker, which of course in many ways is really just how to become better ways of making connections, because a lot of networking really is just being okay with actually reaching out to people on LinkedIn, going to meetups, etc., and just starting up a conversation about, could they share advice? It doesn't even always have to be very targeted about like, hello, do you have a job for me? That's of course never, that will normally get the conversation off on the wrong foot. But if people are normally really open, I think especially in these more technical or digital industries where so many people are trying to enter it, and normally the people who are actually quite advanced in those technical fields have all been in that place before of like, how do I get in there? How do I start my network? And are normally very happy to share a bit of mentoring, share a bit of expertise, and just share advice. So I would say, yeah, it's not that there'll be kind of a plate, because of course networks and opportunities change on any day to day, but very much your time in your classroom with your success manager or career coach will give you the tools in how to own your career and your networking expertise for the remainder of your career journey. But I don't know, DC or Jill, if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah,
I'm just going to add just a very quick one, Fee, which is the very nature of this subject, of this topic of marketing and branding as well, to a degree, is about really understanding who is your target audience, what sort of message do you want to get across to them, excuse me, how do you want to get that message across to them, on what channels, and that's giving you all of the skills to do a really good job of marketing yourself, your own brand, right? So there's a whole sort of school of thought at the moment about sort of people branding and how we can present our real authentic self. And so some of the skills that you'll be practicing on the course are going to help you, to put yourself forward in the best possible light. And, as we spoke earlier, I've got a whole network of students now who are now out there working in industry and have probably been out there for 10, 20 years into their career. So the sorts of people that you're going to come across as facilitators, and me as lead facilitator, also have those networks in existence. And very often, a student will ask me if I know anyone in, say, the banking industry, and I'm always happy to sort of effect those sorts of introductions. So that was just my added bit.
I love it. Thank you, Jill. That's most valuable. You've all articulated it so well. There are numerous opportunities, and the only other one I can add or think to add is the various masterclasses that we host with industry experts along the way, who are always welcome to be reached. And that could be a recruitment firm, or it could be an AI specialist that we hosted recently. Any number of industry experts on given topics for the masterclasses that students can access and attend live as well. And then we do have networks of recruiters, and we do have employers reaching out to us asking, can you post this role with your learners? It happened yesterday. Someone's asked a question here, and I'm going to dovetail this into a question for Fee as well. Someone just said they want to understand there are free courses out there like this. I'd argue somewhat there's a great deal of difference, but we'll get to that. Why take this one? What is attractive to me is the LSE name, quite and most understandably. Will I get a certificate at the end? Absolutely, you'll get a certificate from LSE. But Fee, I guess, in providing further context, what sets this apart from similar programs in the market, particularly in terms of, I guess, content, methodology, and outcomes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say, and I'll try and, I would say number one, how the program is structured and how it's been designed is number one, very much about that career outcome. So and also I would say as well, it's incredibly holistic and quite, and really quite not only holistic, but also a deep dive. I mean, in 6 months, we cover an incredible amount of content. I would say that you'd be hard pressed to find a program that not only covers all of the hard skills, data driven, making, all of how I'm ensuring that it's incredibly tied to business and organizational goals. All of that content is so incredibly important, but also as well that focus on leadership and those critical skills that are often like harder to teach, or often not found as much in programs. How simple things of like, not only like what kind of leader do you want to be, but also how do you project manage your team? How do you collaborate with different people? All these things that are so incredibly important in any role, but also particularly in a role like a digital marketing leader. And of course, it's focused on making sure that all of the assignments are very much grounded in not only will this help you hone those skills, but also will it be an incredible and useful thing to speak to your portfolio. But I would also say one of the things that or a big thing that stands out to me about what makes this career accelerator different is actually the range of expertise we've actually been able to bring in during the development and also during the delivery of it itself. So of course, not only do we have the incredible brand and the incredible expertise of people like Jill, who not only have this a long history in the industry itself, but also bringing that academic rigor and that LSE brand and reputation to that. But the program has been developed day in, day out as well, with industry experts on the ground. So on our team, we have digital marketers practicing, actually writing the content in there with our learning designers. They are delivering this content and writing this content using examples that they recently had as recent as a month ago, or you know, or in the last year. Not only that as well, though, we also have been able to bring in the voices of other subject matter experts and also target it to their expertise. So digital marketing is incredibly broad. It's very rare to find someone who has expertise in every single pillar. So, for example, we have a social media expert who've been able to get their expertise in their content for some video content to share what they have done in their industry. We have an analytics expert when it comes to things like GA4 and measurement. These things are very technical and not any, it'd be very difficult to find someone who can do all of that. It actually gets very technical. We have someone with 30, like CMOs, you know, someone with 30 years experience sharing their experience especially in the course through when we get to things about leadership. So I would say that what's a big differentiator is actually really, not only is it based in the industry and really what's happening on the ground day to day with practitioners, as well as this amazing coupling with the academic rigor and brand of people like Jill at LSE, but also it's the breadth of voices. It's the breadth of voices and expertise that we've been able to bring in while we've been designing it.
I'm just going to add on to some of that,
Yeah.
because I think you've beautifully kind of characterized the sort of learning experience. And I just wanted to tell any of you guys out there that are thinking about this a little bit about the student experience. Now, I have had roles, senior management team roles, looking after student experience. And the way this program is delivered, so we mentioned it's synchronous and asynchronous, you have access to people, to real live people in drop-in sessions. You have safe spaces to ask those questions that you're not really sure you should ask, and then you find out that everyone else wants to ask that exact same question. You've got the VLE, the virtual learning environment, the area where you have all of the materials in place to learn at your own speed, but to go back into and to review, to look at recordings. You know, and you also have, you know, the career counsellors and those other sort of wraparound support services. So say I've come from higher education where, you know, we have a very stressed professional services team who are, you know, looking after a lot of students. But I wouldn't personally put my name to a program that I didn't think looked after the student experience. And for me, I have to say that's something that I rarely see on other programs. So if you're saying, you know, why this program, why not a free one? You know, to me, those things, you know, when you're struggling and you want to speak to someone and you may have, look, real life cuts in on top of all of these things. Things go wrong and you might need to interrupt your studies temporarily. You know, there are people that are going to listen to you and that are going to support you through that process, and then are going to welcome you back into the program at a time when you're ready to sort of progress with those studies. So if that helps explain why you'd go for the paid for rather than the freemium version, then I hope it does.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. Thank you so much, because you're so right, actually, that this program, I believe, is definitely it's much more supportive and high touch, even than other paid programs that I've seen out there. I also have worked in these kind of tech education companies and bootcamp companies for a long time. And you're so right, the support that our delivery teams, to the facilitators and student success managers and the career coach is a lot more high touch than what I've seen before. And I think you're so right, when you're doing something as you say, like, can be as scary as learning something so brand new or really pushing yourself. Learning is amazing, but it's not always easy. And so to have that support there for when you need some help, and to kind of help you through that kind of journey that goes up and down is so valuable. Sorry, DC, I think I jumped into you. There you go.
Not at all. What you added was most valuable. Internally, I think we can say that, and not happy to share externally as well, I think it's almost a customer-driven approach to your support, which is vastly different. And I know we use data deeply to support learners. So if one designs their individualized study plan with their success manager and deviates from that, the VLE has the ability to show us that Fee hasn't logged on for 4 days, and there'll be an outreach and being proactive rather than reactive in that support. There's nothing worse that I think with online learning than being supported when you haven't handed your assignment in. You know, why didn't you hand your assignment in? Well, why couldn't it be? It's unlike you to have not logged on for 4 days. What can I do to help? That will go a lot further to getting your assignment handed in on time than asking why it wasn't in the first place. So it makes sense to us, but you articulated that so well, Jill and Fee as well. Great to see other questions coming through. So we'll touch on a few more from the audience, and I've certainly got some as well. For both Fee and Jill, this is a great question. Tatiana, I'm coming to yours in a moment, but there are industry changes to digital marketing every day. How does the Career Accelerator keep up? I think that's a fantastic question. And who would like to answer that first?
I don't mind making a start. I brought in an ex-student who was working at Amazon, and he was a managing director of Amazon's homepage, and he came to talk to my students about exactly this issue. How can you keep up? And his conclusion was that you can't. It's impossible to. You know, there is so much stuff changing out there. You know, and the pace is accelerating, not slowing down. Because of the sort of industry practitioners that we have, and Fee mentioned in the sort of product design, as well as our academics that are out there talking to businesses today about the challenges that they face that are at the forefront of their thinking. Hopefully we can help you to be somewhat selective about all of those changes. And for sure, when there is remember that there was this app called Blipper, and it would scan QR codes and it would provide automated sort of content that was meant to be tailored to you. You know, you can't possibly be across all of those areas, but I can't think of an organization more prepared and sort of industry facing to pick up those ideas, to synthesize them, and to consider their relative importance amongst the rest of our curriculum, and make changes. The curriculum is fluid, you know, and it's interesting, DC, what you said about being customer facing. What I love about working with young people and working with students is hearing what's happening in their industries and bringing that back into the program. So this is like a double-sided platform. We've got our learners, we've got our educators, yeah, I think we're perfectly placed to be able to synthesize what's going on outside in the real world, determine its kind of relative importance, and to get it into the program if we need to, pretty quickly and slickly.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it, that it's hard pressed for any organization to stay on top of all the changes that are happening in the digital economy day in, day out. But I think you're absolutely right that our team together, we know how critically important it is. And on top of that as well, say a change actually happens, as I say, like that week or the week before, what's great is we do have those weekly sessions that are on top of the asynchronous content. So you can talk about that already with your facilitator there, with someone like Jill yourself, who also comes in and speaks to the students. And you can have those conversations about, wow, this happened in the news, this happened to this. How does this impact what you read on the asynchronous platform? And you can basically like have those discussions right then and there. So that's also another way to make sure that the content is also together as a group. It's staying relevant and up to date.
Brilliant. Conscious of time, and we've got a little bit more to get through. Someone's mentioned that they don't have any higher education, but almost 10 years of experience. We can certainly assess that in an application. So I'd highly encourage you to book a time with your enrolment advisor, and Sam will pop the link in the chat function now. But we'd love to support you in in your application and enabling the success thereof. Tatiana's asked a question here as well. How are you addressing the different existing knowledge experience levels within the course? Example, someone who's just starting out and someone who's had 5 years, or someone that's had 5 years plus of experience. The entry criteria, Tatiana, first, and I'll ask Fee or Jill as well to supplement this, but the entry criteria does require one to have an undergraduate degree as a minimum with a marketing unit as a part of that, and at least a year of marketing aligned industry-based experience. To let you know also, we have by far the greatest proportion of our learners. We have 3 customers, or 3 personas of learners, I should say. We have career starters, career changers, and career advancers. And by far the highest percentages are in career advances and career changes for this program, not as many career starters for that entry criteria reason as well. But how do we manage that? We embrace it, I think, is the best way of saying that. So someone might not have all the digital marketing experience, but bring a wealth of experience from and transferable skills from any number of different sectors. The average age of student is just over 30 now in the first presentation. So it is a more mature postgraduate style program in that regard. And the wealth of experience brought from other industries is often just as valuable. I hope that answers Tatiana's question, but Fee or Jill, if there's anything else that you'd like to add, please feel free to do so as well.
Yeah, I can jump in. I think absolutely right, DC, as you shared, that what's great about this program as well is that you still have the support of a success manager and a career coach who regardless, that support will still be tailored to where you are at in your career journey. So for example, just because we have a leadership course right at the end doesn't mean just like, oh, but I've only had a year's experience, I shouldn't, I won't be jumping into a leadership role right away. So what's great about this program is you're still tailored to the journey that you're on, but of course, regardless, having that leadership part of the course at the end though is a great grounding for when you get, or how to propel you into those roles perhaps faster than you may have done before the program. And then on top of that as well, I think having that breadth of experience that we've all started to talk about as well still creates such a great learning environment, because as we shared, it's like the start of your network, and it really is such a great way to bring, even with someone who has a little bit of experience, someone who has loads of experience, you're still always bringing in transferable skills that you can learn from each other. And it really lends to a great classroom environment. But Jill, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
I suppose only that, having worked with you guys on the materials development, I would say they're very accessible. The wonderful thing about marketing is we are all consumers of marketing. We're all, bombarded with messages that come from all directions. And whilst we want you to move on from being that sort of passive recipient of those messages to being, someone that's able to evaluate those ideas and compare and contrast the approaches and try to figure out, well, why is that firm using that particular method? You do come with that basic sort of level of understanding. And as I say, looking at the materials, when we think about, DC said, who are our customers in this? How do we get the messages across to them? The content is created in such a way to be accessible, understandable. And then, of course, not only do you have, so at the moment we have kind of weekly sessions, but we also have drop-in sessions, when you don't want to ask a question in front of 20 people, but you're quite happy to go and see someone one-to-one. You have that. So I think it's all possible with some hard work for sure.
Exactly. And I think that you've touched on a really good point there, and to extrapolate on that, the industry project enables people to work outside of their comfort zone sometimes. For example, it was Tatiana, I think. If someone comes with a great deal of leadership skills already, yet they're looking to develop their data-driven processes within digital marketing, a role within the project can enable someone to step up into a leadership role within the team, where that may be a skill that they want to develop. And that's why it is an intimate cohort as well, because I could think of nothing worse than if we opened it up for hundreds of learners at a time, that the industry project proportion would then be watered down or diluted to give you only a task, for example, and make it completely unrealistic compared to what occurs in industry with a marketing team. When you're working with a team of 4 or 5 other learners, it enhances and gives you more opportunity of demonstrating your skills and applying them in that real environment as well. We're going to announce, someone's asked who the Employer Project, we're going to announce that in the coming weeks for this upcoming presentation as well that we're most excited with. With all of our career accelerators, we've partnered with brands such as Sky and Sky Glass. We've partnered with DocuSign, Dropbox, Linktree, all sorts of different organisations, and try and get a diverse nature of industry partners as well, be they sometimes NGOs, large corporates or other, to give people a different breadth of experience that they can obviously nominate their preference for as well. Very conscious of time. I might see, I think there was one, just someone's ringing me and I apologise. I do apologise for the background noise if that came through with my phone ringing through my laptop as well. Obviously someone's got my number through our marketing and they're ringing me non-stop. Anything else before I just give a quick overview of the application process, the payment plans available, and the last little sign off? And thank you to those in attendance. Anything you would like to cover, Fee or Jill, that you don't feel that we have just yet, but yet is important?
I suppose just the one last thing I want to say to, you know, those people that are, you know, perhaps have been out of higher education for a while, aren't used to, you know, the rhythm and the assessments and all those kind of things. It was something, you know, you mentioned as a sort of throwaway at the beginning, there are no exams in this. But the important part is it means that it's all coursework that is very practical and very experiential. So you're going to be learning by doing, you know, small tasks that then build up to a bigger assessment. So you're not going to be, for the first time coming back into education and being, you know, presented with this large, overwhelming project. I mean, literally the components and the steps you work through and you submit to build to this bigger assessment. So I think it's just really important that you're learning by doing, and rather than just, you know, thinking you're coming in with no experience and everyone else is up here with lots of that experience, you're going to be gaining that really practical experience.
That's a fantastic point. We encounter many that are self-aware in their own imposter syndrome of returning to education after some time, and I certainly went through that many years ago when my hair was a different colour. But I too went through a very practical process of learning with a university here, and it was the best thing that I ever did. And you often think, well, why didn't I do it sooner, or whatever that may be? But the decision to do so is an important one. You'll be supported in your decision-making process through an enrolment advisor that will have genuine empathy for your own circumstance. And that's such an important thing when you're considering not only to invest in yourself through quality education such as this, but that may be coupled with a decision to change careers. And that's a life decision, and that warrants the right support. And your enrolment advisor certainly takes that empathetic approach to your decision and your process, and will ask you questions rather than just outline the benefits. We'll ask questions relating to your intended outcomes, motivations, and then go into the criteria and so forth, which I'll touch on shortly. So that's the way you're supported even through your decision-making process. Again, the link in the chat to book a time. Fee, anything from yourself before I give the final overview?
No, all good. I think Jill ended on a great point. I want to make sure that you've got time to cover everything.
Wonderful, thank you. And for those that are in attendance, we're really, really pleased to provide access for those that do go ahead with the program in the upcoming presentation to mentorship sessions. And these are 4 sessions spanned over the period of your learning, where you'll have direct engagement with an industry mentor, enabling you to further enhance not only what it is that you're striving to achieve, but staying, as Jill said, abreast of industry change as well that occurs so much, and gaining those practical insights from a from a dedicated industry-based mentor, in addition to your career coach that's going to take you through a more formal program of positioning your new skills for the leverage of accelerating your career as well. In the 4 minutes that I've got, I'm going to run through, but I'd like to firstly say, Jill, Fee, thank you ever so kindly for your insights and time today. It's most valuable, and I'm sure everyone in attendance has gleaned something from your overview and insights into the program. I know I certainly have. So I'd like to say thank you for your time. Feel free to run if you have a more pressing engagement while I go through the practical nature of applying. Thanks, Jill. Thank you, Fee.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolute pleasure. Cheerio. Lastly, I was just going to go through some of the practical steps to it as to how to apply, and we'll pop some links also in the chat function. So the program, 6 months in length, included within the pricing of the program is that industry mentor series and the executive style career coaching. 4 sessions with the mentor, 6 sessions with the career coach. That's an amazing offer of value in addition to what skills you're going to learn as well. The cost of the program, if you're not aware, is £6,300. If you're an alumni of LSE, there is a reduction available as well. Now, we want to make this accessible for others as well, or for many as well. So we do offer interest and fee-free payment plans. You can choose a 6-month or 9-month payment option following a 10% deposit, and there are no fees and no interest associated with those payment plans. Lastly, there is, for the UK citizens and residents of more than 3 years, there is the potential option of applying through our partner in EdAid for a 24-month payment plan as well, with, again, no fees and no interest associated with that. To apply, you need to upload a transcript of your previous studies with demonstrating that you've undertaken a unit in marketing, or marketing related subject, I should say, and your resume, and then book a time with your enrolment advisor that will walk you through not only the outcome to your application or if anything else is required, but also take you through the next steps, setting up your payment plan, and then introducing you to your success manager, who will be there to guide you through onboarding, which commences, the next onboarding commences on the 13th of May. So we haven't got long. There are only limited placements available for the program, and I highly encourage you to engage. Lastly, not only with yourself in reflecting on what you've learned today and through the materials you've been sent, through accessing the additional information that Sam has kindly put in the chat, be it the brochure, the meeting link, or the application link as well. But when you're making a decision such as this, and I'll finish on this note now, include others in your decision. And what I mean by that is, it's one thing to think, I want to study, and it may be yours and your decision only. That's fantastic. What we always recommend, though, is if you do have family, or you've got colleagues, or you've got friends that may be impacted with you having to make sacrifices over the next 6 months to accelerate your career, inform them of the process you're going through and the benefit that it may have for your colleagues or your family or hopefully your friends network. And what I mean by friends is, occasionally there are sacrifices along the way that you will be required to make. And what I mean by that is, if you've got an assignment due on the Saturday and the girls want to go out on Friday night, occasionally you're going to have to say, no, I have to work tonight and get my assignment done. I'll see you next week. And things like that, just making others aware. But especially if you've got family and you're doing this for the betterment of the growth of your career, your earning potential, and therefore the benefit of your family, then it's very wise to engage with them and say, Mum or Dad or brother or sister, I'm going to be dedicating Saturday to studies for the next while. In the long run, this will certainly help us as a family. And how proud will they be of you being accepted by LSE into this most innovative and relatively new program as well. I'll end on that note, but take the next step. Not making a decision is a decision into itself. We're here to support you, so please book a time with either myself in the link. With myself, it'll be with Shahana or with Josh next week when he's back, and we'll provide you not only the empathy that I mentioned earlier around your decision, but all the support that you need to lodge a successful application. From there, we turn those applications around within 24 to 48 hours at the most, with with approval. They're coming with a letter of approval from LSE, and then it's a case of welcoming, supporting, but most importantly, celebrating your success in either the advancement or transition of your career in digital marketing. That we look forward to the most. Thank you and have a great day.